Welcome to Reset 2020. You're here live with us talking about everything to do with donor and funder relations. We have two subject matter specialists here today with us. Kim Downs in the top left, give us a wave, Kim. Teisha Archer in the bottom left there, and our wonderful interview case study talent here, Belinda Collins, the Director of Development at Swinburne University. This program's made possible and free thanks to our partners at Equity Trustees. Delighted to have you here today, Belinda. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for the opportunity, Julia, and Equity Trustees.
Well, it's been quite a journey for you, not only, if you don't mind me saying, being a mother of a number of children, running a team, and dealing with COVID-19 on a personal and professional front. Can you jump in for us on this journey that you've had the last 2 months? Don't worry about the homeschooling part, but many organisations have told us, how afraid they've felt, how stuck and how frozen they have felt during this time. Can you take us back to, say, 8-10 weeks ago, and what happened when COVID-19 hit for Swinburne?
Yeah, I was reflecting on that and thinking back to January when we all believed that the bushfires would be the defining issue of our year, and that just seems such a long time ago, and we cannot forget those bushfire affected communities. But being a university, because we are full of people from all walks of life, our students, our researchers, our staff, it became obvious to us quite quickly that this was going to be something major that would affect us. When we started to realise our students, particularly from China in the first instance, weren't able to get back to Australia. And as we realised this would be something that would affect all of our students, the university swung into action in support of the students. And that's a very Swinburne thing to do, I must say.
Great. And what happened specifically in the fundraising area for it to become, if you don't mind me saying, such a success story over the last couple of months?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that we got everybody on board with the university, and it's been really heartening to hear Kim and Teisha talking about purpose. And so for us, it was really reflecting on why do we exist? And we exist to educate the next generation of young people coming through. And when you go to your purpose and you understand that your beneficiaries, or the reason you exist, is having a difficult time, then you have a responsibility to push forward, no matter how uncomfortable or how daunting that might be. And so that's where we found ourselves. Very quickly, we were able to reach out to a lot of donors and explain just where the position that we're in right now. And again, it was terrific. Excuse the aeroplane flying past, but terrific to hear conversation this morning about purpose and beneficiaries and the reason that we all exist. And reflecting on that, it was critical for us to do something in support of our students.
Thank you, Belinda. And I just have to acknowledge that unusual sound in the background of an aeroplane, which
aeroplane going by.
It's like such a long time ago that we have heard that sound, and quite unusual. Thank you for sharing that. Can you tell us, you say everyone swung into action and you came back to purpose. As the Director of Development, a lot of that would be you coordinating, the effort and the thinking and the planning all around what was going to happen with the fundraising area. How did you get such strong internal support at the time? What were the sorts of things that you were doing?
Yeah, I think that any of us who hold roles in organisations are custodians at a particular point in time. So I need to acknowledge the people who've occupied this role before me, including Michelle McGregor-Owen, who was here before I began, and my predecessors have been terrific at building a culture of philanthropy across the organisation, where it's understood that fundraising isn't something that the development team just goes and does, but it's something that needs to be right through the organisation. So that was number one. And then number two was really just about going back to that thing of understanding the position that our students find themselves in, and understanding that we have an absolute responsibility to look out for them. So very quickly we were able to get agreement for a whole lot of things to happen. And Julia, you might have that first slide there that I'm happy to go through. But very quickly we were able to get support. Here we are, that's the last one. Back. There we are. So that said, I'll just talk through that a little for you, but every segment of our community has been involved. So we did some research, and it's great to hear, great to hear the research coming out today from Philanthropy Australia. We, at the time, looked at the stuff that the work that JB Weir did, and understood that it's time to really lean into philanthropy. And at my age, I've lived through more than one financial crisis now, although none are quite this big. And so we understand the way that we need to behave and respond during a financial crisis. So we start at the very top of our organisation. Our council members are contributing honorariums. And I hope that there's some bits and pieces in here that you will find relevant for the organisations that you represent, understanding that many of you will have council members that don't receive a salary, but I think it's still appropriate to ask them for some sort of a contribution. Our executive team accepted pay cuts, and 10% of that's going into the Student Emergency Fund. We secured agreement to reach out to our staff to seek donations, and I'll talk you through the results of that next. We agreed that the mid-year tax appeal would focus on our Student Emergency Fund instead of other areas. And we've been making calls to our major donors, and to the point that Kim was making before, number one to us is around checking in with people. It's about making sure our donors are okay, and understanding the positions that they might find them in. And to that point around belonging and connection and purpose in life for each of us, that's been the key driver for us, is really strengthening those relationships with donors who have either been with us for a short or a long period of time. And if they are able to provide some support, that's really secondary. But for us, looking after those relationships and the language we've heard this morning around stewardship is key. But it's treating people as people and just making sure they're okay. We have approaches out to philanthropic trusts and foundations, and in talking through how Swinburne has all got behind this initiative, our finance team has through the procurement area been reaching out to our suppliers. Industry partners have been contacted. Nobody is being left out of this appeal. We also had some historic funds that the Pratt Foundation and the Beckton Family Foundation had given to support students in crisis many years ago, and they were given as endowment funds, but we reached out to the donors and explained the heightened sense of urgency right now, and sought permission for those funds to be reallocated to the Student Emergency Fund, and both were in great agreement. And it's been a terrific way of re-engaging and maintaining connection, and giving those foundations an opportunity to contribute without actually having to ask them for new money right now. The other thing that's been really terrific is that we made an early decision to erect an honour board, because this is an historic time for all of us. We will all look back and remember the time we were locked in our homes for this period. And so for us, and to show the students the support that's been offered to them, we decided to put up an honour board that really acknowledges the contributions that everyone has made. And that's actually been a great motivator for people to donate, for us to be able to reach out and say, look, there will be an honour board, and it's not complete without your name on it. We've been as bold as that to some people. We really want to make sure that you're there, that you're seen as being a part of our community and walking with us at this point in time. And that's actually been a terrific motivator for people as well. So the bottom point there on that slide just says it's fundraising 101, but it's much easier to fundraise when you can say that all of your stakeholders are contributing, and that we hope that our supporters can come alongside us to match what the institution is doing already. And I think all of my team have given, and I've certainly given to that appeal.
Fantastic, excellent. So that's been the big focus on the student campaign. That's been the sole focus of your fundraising, Belinda?
There's still other work happening. The world doesn't stop. So it's about 50% of our focus right now, but we're still continuing conversations with other donors about critical areas that they have been interested in supporting all the way along. And the question came up before, I don't know what my funders want right now, just ask them. And I think that sometimes we get so nervous about a power imbalance in philanthropy, and it's very easy to be daunted and intimidated by our donors and think that they hold the power because they have the money. I think that particularly a crisis like COVID-19, which is such a great equaliser, we're all in this together. We're all locked in our homes. We all have the same level of fear. We're all trying to care for family and friends at a distance. It is a great equaliser. And so I would really encourage anyone who's feeling a bit daunted right now, or who doesn't know what their funders want, to reach out and just treat these as people, and understand that we have power too, and that what we're able to bring to our donors is belonging, is connection, is meaning. They're passionate about our causes. They're committed to what we do, as well as working on the fundraising side. I consider myself a philanthropist as well, albeit I don't have unlimited resources to be able to give right now. But the causes I'm passionate about around Indigenous literacy and Burnet Institute for Medical Research, I do find myself sitting and wondering just how they're coping at this point in time. So we're offering...
Oops, sorry, darling, you go.
We offer connection, we offer belonging, we offer meaning. So flip that sense of power imbalance in our heads and reach out and connect and ask and talk to people.
Beautiful, beautiful advice there. I'm loving the little birds that you've got there in your courtyard as well. They're lovely. We're going to jump into a slide, and thank you for preparing these for us as well for today, Belinda. I know how busy you've been, that looks at some of the results. We're going to share that with you in a second. But Kim, at this point, I was wondering if you might be able to reflect on, I guess, while there's been other activities going on, there has been this focal point and this quick and urgent response about the students. Can you reflect on that in terms of how would that be working well in the mindset of donors and the broader funding community?
Well, I think it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic, Belinda, that you've taken this crisis and gone, okay, who is this affecting at Swinburne? It's affecting your students. So you've built your campaign and your messaging around that. So absolutely perfect. And what you said about the whole organization getting involved and being behind it, that's essential. It's essential for any fundraising campaign to be successful. And reaching out to donors and asking how they are. I would hope that every organization during this time is at least doing that with their request prospects. You know, and checking in, saying, I'm just calling to see how you are. Do you need anything? Because that's just showing compassion and building that sense of community. So that's absolutely perfect. What you've done is just, yeah, you can't add to it. It's great. Well done.
Great. Thanks, Kim. Well, Belinda, let's jump into a page here that you've got some lovely stats to show us in terms of the results. And this might actually help as well. I noticed there were some questions around donor acquisition and reaching out to new donors at this time. So you'll be pleased to see some of the results around engaging with new donors. So do you want to talk us through this page here, Belinda?
I do. I thought that some of the sort of data might be helpful, because I know lots of us are trying to make the case for continuing the work that we're doing. But we were set a target of $2 million, and we are $2 million, is about what we raise each year. And so when we were given a target of $2 million for this appeal, I was more than hesitant. But we're $850,000 into that within 4 weeks. And that's at a time that a lot of people are very, very nervous about asking for money. Through the appeals out to staff, 102 staff donated $34,000, which is a lot of money. And it needs to be said too that now staff at Swinburne we're all taking what's called contribution leave. So we're all reducing our salaries by 10% to reduce the operating cost of the business. But still, 102 staff donated $34,000. We have 315 people have donated outside of staff. And interestingly, they've made 341 gifts, which shows that some people are giving more than once, which is really, really heartening. We have 158 new donors through this period, and they've donated $80,000. The donations have come from 18 different countries. Obviously, the overwhelming majority have come from Australia, but 18 countries across the world where we find our alumni, donations are coming in. Interestingly, the age profile is slightly younger than it might otherwise be, and we've seen our young alumni dipping in and being involved at this time as well. In the direct mail appeal, the average gift is up, and unfortunately I didn't bring along a stat on that, but the average levels of giving are up as well as the donor acquisition. But for me, the biggest impact is really that intangible thing of building a community of donors who are with us for the future. We've leaned in, we've connected, we've chatted, we've follow-upped, we've thanked, and we've thanked. And that's been really, really lovely. Just that element of human connection, of advising where we're up to, of letting people know about the predicament of our students. We're also stuck at the moment in terms of being mindful of the impact for our own family, our own community, our own business, and our own, own financial position, perhaps for some, that we often aren't able to reach out and think, how is this affecting others? But when we take the time to stop and explain what it means for our students or for our particular organisation, our donors are engaged and surprised, and while they might not give in the largest way ever, they will give in whatever way they are able to support you. I think I reflect back to previous financial crises when donors have said, why is it that when I don't have a lot of money, people stop talking to me? Is the relationship not important? Because when my fortunes are good again, everyone's back in touch. So for us, just keeping that, Kim used the language around donor retention, just keeping in touch with our donors is just as important as the money at this point in time.
Just on the point that's coming through on a live poll, that how people are feeling afraid to contact donors in case they feel pressured or insulted. This is exactly to the point that you're making here now. Can you just speak a little bit to that? Have you, and maybe the three of you, have you actually ever had a donor say that they're feeling pressured by you following up at this time, or feeling insulted in this way? It's definitely a third of the people who are here with us today are actually feeling that. So can we just talk a little bit more on that in terms of your experiences, just to help people with this one today?
Yeah, we haven't faced that a lot. I think because the approach has been very, very gentle, and it's putting people and it's putting donors first. But if they are saying to us, look, I'm just not in a position to be able to do that right now, then we are completely understanding. I think for all of us in careers as fundraisers, you do occasionally get people who feel that and who feel that you might be pushing. But it's just about apologising that if it's a difficult time, being human, understanding, and not giving up on the relationship still. I think just because you get a no, or someone might be having a difficult time or a bad day, that relationship is still really important. So keep in there, keep connecting with people.
Teisha, Kim, have you got some reflections on that to share as well?
Absolutely. I think it's really important just to show gratitude and to stay connected and be authentic and genuine. Don't ever be pushy. No matter what the time is in the environment, we should, as fundraisers, not be pushy. It's all in the words that we use. So we need to use words like, would you consider? If you were able to help, does this resonate with you? One of the boards that I'm on, we've decided that every time somebody joins as a member or makes a donation, that list will be distributed to the board, and we're to make personal phone calls saying, thank you for joining as a member. Why did you join? What about us do you like? What can we do for you? Why did you make that donation? What are you hoping to do with that donation? And with another organization I'm working with at the moment, I think we as fundraisers, or we find our boards and executives are more afraid to ask
Yes.
than we are. Because they're like, oh, no, 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 we can't insult anyone. We can't put pressure on. But we don't know what our donors want, so ask. So pick up the phone, say, here's what we're experiencing. We've decided to go ahead with this appeal, and here's why. Don't feel pressured to give, but if you were able to, and most people, at least in my experience in the last couple of months, are saying, well, gee, thanks so much. That's really good. No, I will be able to give something, but probably not for a couple of months. Perfect. That's fine. What about you, Tish?
I agree with you, Kim. I would add to that, listen to people. Like Belinda said, treat people like people. When you make the call, ask them how they are, how they're tracking, and listen and react accordingly. If someone's telling you they're having an extremely difficult time and that they're coping with illness or with losing a job or with homeschooling, then, you know, listen to them and be human and respond to them appropriately. Asks can be passive, as Kim's saying. They can be soft and gentle, and we can do that right now. I don't see there's any problem with that at all. Also worth remembering, and what I'm reminding a lot of my clients who are in this position of being afraid to ask, is that there's a lot of people actually doing really well right now. I mean, if I had shares in sorbent toilet paper, you could come to me. I mean, come on. There's some people who are actually doing really well for themselves right now. And there's also a lot of people who have had a very successful 9 months leading up to this, who are coming to end of financial year, who will be looking to make tax deductible donations. And so making assumptions about where people are at is what will get us into trouble. Talking to them and listening carefully to their responses will mean that we're able to appropriately ask people at the right time for the right amount.
Beautiful, beautiful points there. I'm hoping that everyone in our virtual audience right now, it's funny not being able to see anybody, isn't it, really? But maybe drop us a note in the chat box. Are these examples of scripts, are these tips being helpful for you with these questions right now? We'd love to know. Lisa has asked of the campaign, back to the Swinburne campaign there, Belinda, was there a major lead gift in that campaign?
There have been a few. The historic funds coming across from Beckton Family Trust and also from the Pratt Family Foundation were the most significant that came across, and they were both over $100,000. So in terms of, you know, there's not been $1 million gifts or things, and I think that goes back to it goes back to passion and purpose and alignment. And I suspect that supporting students through this time is something that people will do because they understand the need. But I think it's not tapping into people's absolute passions, which might be around a particular area of research in the environment or particular areas of health. So nor would we expect there to be very, very significant gifts. The other gifts that have been really wonderful have been one of our donors, Russell Scrimshaw, and they're all happy to be acknowledged, has given a very significant gift. And a new donor, the Asian Australian Foundation, has made a really wonderful gift into Swinburne, and they are first-time donors for us. And they were just incredibly concerned about the plight of international students. So that's been terrific too.
Fantastic, excellent. I'm going to jump into just having a quick look there. We'll jump into Martin's question about new donors in a second. Actually, no, we'll look at new donors now, because we're going to talk next about team and engaging the team being virtual and working remote. Martin has asked this, and where did you source the new donors from? The stats you had there were 158 new donors. Can you speak to those new donors, please, Belinda?
Yeah, a lot of them were through direct mail out to alumni. And so I think I mentioned that we repurposed we focused our annual appeal for the year on the Student Emergency Fund. So hard copies went to existing donors, but we also emailed out to our alumni because that's a cost-effective way of reaching out. So a lot of those were new donors who'd come in through that direct mail appeal. And others were people who have started to engage around Swinburne through our events and through other sorts of activities in perhaps the last 18 months or so, and who had not given previously, but who we thought, these people are engaged and connected with us, let's call out and let's call and reach out to them. And that was actually really effective. So in that way, and I've been in this role, been with Swinburne almost 2 years now, but in this role only for the last 6 months. So for me as the leader of that team now, these are people who I've brought into the organisation with me, and I have a very strong sense that now, even if they've made quite small gifts at this time, they are now with us for the future, providing that we keep them engaged and cared for and help them find meaning in what they're doing with Swinburne.
Great, fantastic, excellent. We've got some more questions there that we're going to ask shortly, but I do want to step into that area around team and working remotely. And I also then want to recognise that not everyone is Swinburne, and that we have a lot of organisations here that might be one-man show, one-woman show, remote and rural and regionally based, and sometimes it can be overwhelming having such case studies. We had Beyond Blue the other day, and we're very mindful of that as well. So it's really not the size of the organisation, but what we can hear and what we can take back into our organisations, regardless of the size that we are. But for organisations that are working, I guess, as a team, and that might be not necessarily a fundraising team, but other parts of an organisation working together in these goal areas, can you tell us, over the last 8 weeks, working remotely as a team, what's worked and what hasn't worked in terms of working on that united goal?
Yeah, gosh, a lot of communicating. I'm sure we're all just about zoomed to death. A lot of communicating, and so this needs us to work across lots of areas of the university, and it's about recognising that everyone in the team is facing their own challenges right now, and not putting too much pressure on. That we've either got kids at home, or we're feeling vulnerable, and we've got different working conditions, different internet connections, and just trying to be very, very understanding of where people are at. And I've been very, very explicit as a leader to say, I do not expect you to be sitting at your computer from 9 to 5. I'd be disappointed if you were. Go out, enjoy the sunshine, walk, get fresh air. And there's been a lot of checking in with the team, just as there is with our donors, and just, again, treating people as people, and treating people with respect, and understanding that the work will fit in around that. That's been the first and foremost thing to do. I've found that sometimes emails have been more difficult, because I think that people are, their brains are functioning in a different way at the moment. So a lot of conversations have been needed to get us all on the same, keep us all on the same page. But the team's been really wonderful, and most of us who work in philanthropy, we're people, and so being stuck at home is really challenging for us. And we've actually really all enjoyed the opportunity of ringing and connecting with donors, and having that really lovely relationships and contact and connection with people. So for the team, it's actually been a real buzz. And the other thing that we've done too is really ring and thank all of the donors that have come in, and asked our executive team to pitch in on that as well. So it's actually been a buzz for us in terms of that human connection. But it is challenging coordinating across reporting and data, gift processing. There's no one in the office to pick up hard gifts, so we've had to sort of make sure we've got online giving systems up to speed. A lot of things we've had to and been able to push forward in a way that we've not had to previously, or we've not been able to previously in a big institution. So the way people have come together has really been quite stunning, I have to say, and just makes me feel very, very proud of our organisation and its culture and its willingness to pitch in and get things done.
Fantastic. Excellent. Teisha, just want to pick up on this notion. We don't know exactly, we're starting to come out of lockdown a little bit, but we really don't know what's on the horizon, the next 6-12 months. And in terms of rallying and keeping teams together and uniting around, you know, goals and new campaigns. What do you think are going to be some of the magic ingredients, you know, to hold teams together and stay focused and energized?
I certainly think there's a few things that organisations can be doing to keep the teams focused. It's very similar to what Belinda was saying about donor stewardship. Treat people as people. Our teams are vulnerable now too. I have been in meetings where they are started with a check-in around the table, not about work and what you're doing, but how are you going this week, right this moment? How do you feel? Are you overwhelmed? Are you exhausted? Are you excited? You know, check in right now. Do you want to return back to the office, or are you enjoying working from home? These sorts of things. Ask the questions. People touching base regularly. Of course, this can go the other way. Like, you know, we can all get zoomed out, but touching base regularly and allowing, you know, 5 minutes at the start of the meeting to do that. You know, connect with people. Celebrate success. It's really easy right now to get that big donation in, and even if it's a small big donation, but big for now. You know, celebrate the success, congratulate people on the work that they're doing, share the stories with the whole team. Don't let, you know, that $5,000 donation just be put into the background as nothing. It's hard work right now to secure those gifts, and people should be recognised for that work. Reassess your strategy and goals. If you're in an environment where your board and executive have instructed you not to ask, then take that time to give the team other meaningful work. And even if it is fundraising, people need meaningful work where they can see themselves achieving something and understand how it contributes to the wider vision of the organisation. People right now don't need to be, you know, effectively stuffing envelopes. They need to be doing work that they feel is worthwhile, because sitting in front of your computer, whether it's for a couple of hours a day or from 9 till 5, is hard work enough on your own when you're used to working in a team environment. So if people feel like what they're doing is contributing, that will make it much better. And finally, using Belinda's words again, thank, and thank. Your team. It's hard, you know. I'm working from home with 2 kids and have been homeschooling, and it's really hard work. And to do that and still be contributing and achieving some sort of success, whether it's fundraising, income, or anything else, thank people for still prioritising their work in their very hectic lives right now.
Beautiful. Excellent. Thank you. Belinda, I just want to touch on, I guess, looking forward now for Swinburne. Where do you see the opportunity for further investment in fundraising, or, you know, what comes next for Swinburne from your perspective?
Yeah, and we still must make sure we touch on that point around size of teams as well too, Julia. I'm very mindful of that. But look, I don't think any of us are going to be in a position to ask for more funding for anything from our institutions. I think that's the reality. One of the things that Swinburne's been superb at is letting us know just where we're at in terms of budget, communicating every week, so we are all very, very clear of the position that we're in. So for us, it's about continuing to be creative. And I've come from those small teams, and I've been those small teams, so I'm quite comfortable in that space of thinking about playing to your strengths, maintaining really strong relationships, putting effort in where it's going to deliver the best return, rather than thinking around where can investment be. And it's, you know, big organisations are not necessarily utopia. I think that there's a lot of stuff that's still really challenging in big organisations, and you still might not have all the investment that you need around your database or your gift processing. It's hard to make changes. It's hard, that sort of thing can be challenging in a big organisation. Even for us to prioritise how do we get the marketing team to make the changes that we need to the website when the students' messaging is so critical right now, and they are really stretched and under-resourced too. So there's a lot that's quite challenging still, and there's a lot of investment that we know we would love to have to be able to work in a way that's best practice. You know, we still don't feel that we can reach out to our donors as much as we'd like. We'd still love to have more time and resources, but we've got what we got, and we make it work. And we, like all of us, we are creative, we are inventive, we think about what's meaningful, we think about very hard always, how do you get the best results with any dollar that you might spend on fundraising. I am very mindful, and all of my team is very mindful that we work on taxpayers' money. You know, you and I and all of us in this chat contribute our taxes to organisations like many that we work for. So anything that we're going to do needs to work. It needs to deliver results. It needs to be inventive, creative, as cost effective as it absolutely can be.
I think those points are quite relevant for our last point that I'd like all three of you to comment on. We have a lot of organisations here today and that will be watching this recording afterwards that are small organisations, you know, maybe only an executive officer and one or two other staff. And I'm really mindful, and it's one of the big parts of why we built the X Factor Collective, was that we could, you know, really connect with that audience who often miss out on support and advice, often miss out on being able to pick up the phone to a consultant and get that tailored advice. Can I get you all three of you just to give your final bits of your pearls of wisdom and your little gems in the area of philanthropy and fundraising at this time? What would be your advice for people of small organisations listening in?
I guess I'll jump in first. One of the questions that I like to ask organizations is, do you want fundraising or do you want philanthropy? Because fundraising is transactional, philanthropy is a relationship. So I think right now is a really good time to focus on philanthropy if you're not already doing that.
Beautiful.
And just stewardship is so important. I mean, when you receive a donation, that's just step one in the relationship. So it's keeping that donor on the journey with you. And just as a side note, if I can, while Belinda was talking, I was sitting here listening, and I have a calendar on my desk, you know, those calendars that you flip the day over and there's a quote. So here's today's quote, and you tell me how spooky this is. No duty is more urgent than that of returning thanks.
Beautiful.
Nice. That's beautiful. Teish, what are your thoughts?
I would add to Kim's comments. You know, what I've been listening to from Belinda really resonates with me. I love how at Swinburne they took the opportunity, regardless of the size of the team, any team can do this, whether it's one person or 50. They looked inwardly for a moment and they said, who are our community with us right now? Who is standing with us, and how can we engage them? So they started with the closest people, their staff, the executive, the council, and their closest supporters, and they kept it small to start with. You know, how can we engage those people to create that culture or continue to build that culture of philanthropy within the organisation? They didn't put out a massive international campaign. They started with that. It spreads to alumni as their next group. But in a small organisation, it might be that the one person goes to its board and the board go to their closest peers. It might be that you go to your top 5 or top 10 donors and talk to them. It might be that you go to your volunteers or ambassadors. It could be anyone, but those people who are closest to you. So many organisations could benefit from taking their big worldwide approach back into that small knit community and start there. Those people love you, they want to support you, and they don't want to see you fail. And certainly if they can't give big, they'll certainly want to be able to give enough to see you make it through this difficult time.
Beautiful. Belinda, final word with you, lovey.
Yeah, I'd agree with all of that. But I think if I reflected on if it was just me, what would I be doing if I was one person there? And I would try all of that. I would try going to your council, your board, and ask them to contribute, talk to their friends, email your supporter base, anyone whose contact details you have, to let them know how you're going and let them know where you need money. If the beneficiaries or the people you support are struggling right now, as I suspect they are, let your community know and just provide a link for giving. And I would personally be putting my time into actually calling anyone. And this is what I do. I go out for a walk. I escape the homeschool, and I go out for a walk with my phone and my headphones on, and I call our donors while I'm out and about chatting, and just talk to them about where we're up to and ask if they might think about contributing. And you will be pleasantly surprised. You'll be pleasantly surprised that it's actually a really, really enjoyable experience when you don't have a lot of contact with the outside world at the moment, but you're getting to connect with people. You're learning about how COVID's affecting them, their family, their business, their part of the world. It's interesting and an enjoyable thing to do, and people will be with you for the future. So don't worry if you don't have a huge budget and endless resources. Start with one person at a time, as Teisha was saying, and move from there.
Thank you, ladies, so much. Some wonderful, wonderful words of advice and tips there for people to take away. I'm going to just share what I can see here with the live poll with you all as well. So that should come up on your screen if you are here with us today. If you're watching the recording, sorry, you won't be able to see that, but we will share this through our column with Pro Bono Australia as well. Can you see that coming up there now? Hopefully you can. So we've got some other questions there to answer as well. We're going to be talking about end of financial year campaigns shortly. We're going to be talking about what if my cause area has got nothing to do with COVID-19, which might pick up on a couple of points and questions that we've got in the Q&A box. And we're also looking at capital campaigns. So that was a question we had come through from people, was we're planning to launch a capital campaign, or we've been planning to do something like that. Do we push forward? What do we do? That's coming up shortly. Can you all please help me with a virtual round of applause for the wonderful Belinda Collins. Belinda, thank you so much for being here today and putting it into, I know, a very hectic schedule that you have at the moment, and for preparing those slides as well, pulling all that data together for us so quickly so we can get that out there and share and hopefully really inspire people to get in there, lean in and be excited about the possibilities. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to join me. And I can have, if people ever want to reach out, we're happy to help out in any way we can. If you know, universities have a role to play in the community, if there's anything we can do to support friends and colleagues out there, we're very happy to do so.
Great, thank you. And if you'd like to just pop in the chat box, what's one thing from the last half an hour that we've been talking about that you're going to take away today or this week and actually put into your organisation? There's so many gems there. I think I'm up to about 22 different pearls of wisdom. Belinda, I'm just going to stop your video, lovey, but you can stay and listen to the rest of the show. Look forward to catching up with you again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.